Hello and Merry Christmas. People don't say that enough. I say it because this is best for me, and I'm Shayla. Thank you for coming to my podcast. I want to share my story on narcissist abuse by my mother. This is a huge step for me because I don't do social media, so sharing all this personal information is not what I normally do. I do need to share more about myself because I don't like to talk about myself. As a matter of fact, I always found it hard to do. I never felt I was important enough to talk about myself. In work environments, instead of talking about myself, I would listen to other people go on and on about their family, their lives, their likes, their dislikes. In a work environment, people like this are unescapable. I used to wonder, why do they think I care? Why do they think I want to hear all these details about their personal life? Who cares that you had to take your car to the mechanic? Who cares that your grandbaby has started school or done anything really? I'm just here to work and be the best paralegal I can be. It's annoying, really, but in my self therapy that I do for myself, I came to the understanding that people are sharing who they are. They are looking to connect. Then I had to ask myself, why do I not share who I am? Why does it bother me when people want to share who they are with me? I discovered that I thought I knew myself, but I don't really know myself. It's hard to share when you don't know what you're supposed to be sharing. I also discovered that my mother's narcissist abuse has led me to believe that I'm not good enough. This is why I didn't think my life, my family, my likes, my dislikes were important enough to share with my coworkers. If you want to shed a tear, it would be appropriate, because knowing that my mother treated me so badly that I didn't know my own worth to the point that I couldn't talk about myself is sad. I guess I just feared being shot down for my personal thoughts and opinions, the things that made me who I was. I grew up with a mother telling me I couldn't, I wouldn't, I'm not, and I won't. She placed a blanket of inferiority over me, covering up the person that I truly am, my identity, my personality, and my character. In my book, I mentioned how when I was a child, I said I wanted to be a teacher. My mother told me I couldn't be a teacher because I couldn't even make up my bed. Yeah, she was that kind of mom. Speaking of my book, I haven't forgot. I said in the last episode I would read an excerpt from my book. I want to thank all the readers who have published my book. Thank you for reading about my story, the story I was forced to suppress because telling people what I've been through would expose my mother, the narcissist. So, in this excerpt, I talk about staying all night in a public place because I didn't want to go home to be mistreated by my narcissist mother. The public place was Gallatin High School in Gallatin, Tennessee. Please go get my book. It would be a great help to me. Let me begin reading an excerpt from my book, You're Not My Mother, You're a Narcissist. I remember when I was a freshman in high school, my mother's abuse was so unbearable that a couple of times I ran away from home. Those teen years were absolutely the worst time in my life because I endured her abuse on a daily basis and I felt I didn't have anyone to turn to. Even if I did have someone to turn to, I would be too afraid to reach out for help. If my plan to ask for help backfired, I would still end up living with my mother, being abused, and I was so afraid of what she might do to me if I exposed her abuse and mistreatment. The first time I ran away, I just took off walking with no destination. As I walked, I knew I had no way of taking care of myself, and I was also afraid of being abducted or having something worse happen to me than what I was experiencing at home. I remember telling myself that if I ran away, I could possibly end up in a better situation. Maybe someone would pick me up and take me far away from my misery and I would live a better life. Well, I knew this wouldn't likely happen, so I walked back home. When I got back home, my mother and stepfather had not returned home yet. I left while they were gone, leaving my little brother at home alone. My parents never knew I had run away. Then there was the time I stayed all night at the high school. I hid in the school restroom's bathroom stall, as I often did to avoid going to the classes where I was being teased and picked on by other students. I stayed in the restroom until the school closed. It took a long time before I would not hear anyone talking or walking through the halls. Once I believed everyone was gone, I came out of the restroom. The school was empty and completely silent, so I just walked the halls. I had no idea what I was going to do, but at least I was not going home. As I walked around the school, I noticed what I believed to be motion detectors that would flash a light throughout the school. I began to get scared. What if the alarm picks up my motion? Then I heard what seemed to be a television. Why would I be hearing a television in the school when the school was closed? The school was empty and dark, except for dim light in the hallways and the light from the alarms. I continued to walk through the halls, and the sound of a television program being on got closer. I began to see the light from the television I was hearing coming from a small room in the back of the school, and I could hear someone moving around. Unbeknownst to me, the janitor was living in the high school. When I became aware that I was not alone, I quickly became afraid. What if this man tries to harm me? I didn't know what to do. So I called my grandmother from one of the payphones inside the school. I didn't have any money for the phone. I had to dial the operator to explain that I could be in danger, and I needed her to put me through to my grandmother's phone number. The operator put me through, and I got my grandmother on the line. I remember the call was very brief, but I said enough to let my grandmother know that I was locked in the school building because I hid in the bathroom and was afraid to go home. My grandmother called my mother, and someone got in touch with the school principal who would come to disable the alarm and unlock the school. The person in the back room with the television, who I believed to be the school janitor, never appeared. I tried to go unnoticed and spoke on the phone quietly because I didn't want whoever the person was to hear me. It wasn't long before the principal was there and my mother and stepfather had come to get me. It was extremely quick, as a matter of fact. I didn't feel like I was being rescued. I felt like my plan to get away from my mother backfired. I was afraid being locked in the school building with a stranger, and even more afraid of my parents coming to get me. I will never forget the reaction I got from my mother once they got to the school. I wasn't a mother at the time. I was a teen, but I believed if my child had run away or was missing, I would be so relieved to have found my child. I would have wanted to know that my child was okay and not hurt in any way. I would have questions asking, what happened? How did you get locked in the school building? Why didn't you call home? And etc. My mother's reaction showed no concern for me at all. Instead, she told me, and I quote, "I'm not going to let you hurt me like this again." My stepfather was driving, and he didn't say a word. I wonder what he was thinking. My stepfather was also a victim of my mother's abuse, so he didn't defend us from my mother because he knew he would have to face the consequences for going against my mother. I was so hurt that I had been reunited with my mother. Then to hear her say that I hurt her confirmed what I already knew. My mother didn't care about me. She didn't want to know what was going on with me that would make me want to run away from home. It was as if I was just a disobedient child, instead of a child crying out for help. If I wanted to cry, I couldn't, because only her feelings mattered, and I would be criticized for feeling the way that I did, so I just remained silent. Stay tuned. This is Best for Me, and I'm Shayla. Have your best day being you, because you matter.